savage.
You never overwork. I think that was in there. But if you do work correctly.
Always wear clean underwear.
Real talk. No filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
Twitter X, or like my good buddy up in Detroit would say, Fingers Malloy. X. Got to put the X in there, right? Guys, I have a gentleman joining us here in a moment called the Hebrew Hammer, Aleks Salkin. I want to get a little bit about why he calls himself the Hebrew Hammer. He's got a story. A long story short, he calls it his 9-minute challenge might be the best thing to ever happen to your body. Well, after hearing that, Shaky over here in my producer booth. I mean, after hearing that, right, Shaky? I mean, I do want to take some notes down and possibly question him what this 9-minute challenge is. Because I wouldn't mind putting some healthy weight on myself, but he's got a tremendous backstory to it: strength gains, the functional repair, and him just kicking ass at martial arts. Wow, he seems to be a fighter. A fighter, he says. So, without further ado, this is Aleks. Aleks, welcome into the.
Doing great, but I'll do better. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, who you are. I noticed that you have some type of mixed martial arts, MMA background to your story, right? Let's start off there before we start with this little 9-minute challenge, because I go on your website, Aleks, and that's all I see is, the 9-minute challenge. But we're going to save that towards the end of the show. Tell us a little bit about who Aleks Salkin is and how you got into the world of MMA.
Well, I should clarify. I'm more of a hobbyist when it comes to martial arts. I've never competed. Never really even had so much of a desire to compete. But everybody has the desire. Every man has the desire to be able to kick ass. So for me, one of the earliest introductions that I had to the world of, we'll call it physical culture, which I think is kind of a nice all-encompassing term for strength training, for martial arts training, for any sort of physical exertion that helps you to become a better person. When I was young, I was scrawny, unathletic, weak, goofy, still very handsome, my mom told me. So I think that counts for something. Yeah. But never really picked last, let's say, for, gym class, but it was second or third to last. I was kind of toward the bottom of the barrel. And, when you're a kid, all you know is what you know. It's what you grew up with. So there are some kids who are just naturally athletic, some kids who are just naturally, confident and strong and all this other stuff. And I don't think most kids realize that as they grow older, they can become better at these things if they really want to. So my sense of myself was that I was just always going to be kind of this scrawny, geeky, nerdy person. And I've retained some of that because I do have some, geeky hobbies and stuff like that. But I always in the back of my mind thought, how great would it be to be able to be like Bruce Lee? I grew up, I loved all these action movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Lee, all of the, the butt kickers of the world. And I remember it was probably 2006, I started doing Muay Thai at a local gym here in Omaha, Nebraska, run by a 2-time world kickboxing champion. And I got a great, we'll say, introduction into the world of martial arts training. A lot of fun, definitely a very interesting learning experience because, I'd never done a martial art before. Most of my friends who did martial arts as kids, it was like karate or taekwondo, but it was essentially done in the style that we're most familiar with, which is let's say, advanced babysitting. And I was a teenager. I was 19 years old when I started, and being punched and kicked for the first time, but also being able to do that to other people was okay, this really is cool. And you know what? You can actually learn this stuff. It's not a matter of you either got it or you don't. So that really started me down a path of wanting to develop myself in other ways as well. And, one of the things, my introduction to strength training really in earnest was, I would say, more bodybuilding style training. And it was done with the intent of making me better at Muay Thai. And, as time went on, I decided I wanted to read more into it. So I bought a book about purporting to be about Bruce Lee's training, I think based on his records and his training journals and things like that. And then, what's really interesting is that there was an oblique reference. There's no pictures, but there's a reference to the kettlebell in the back training section of this book. And I kind of filed it away in the back of my mind. I thought that's interesting because, Bruce Lee seemed like he really liked using these implements, and there's no pictures of them. I've never heard of these before. I wouldn't even know where to get one. Think a lot about it, but I did remember it. And then it was probably late 2007, early 2008. I was taking classes at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and one of the classes was Spanish. And I had a guy, Drew Christensen, somebody I went to school with, meaning middle and high school with. And we did not get along in middle and high school.
Oh, no.
But for whatever reason, you get a clean slate when you get to university.
Right.
And so it was like, nothing had ever really happened. We got along just fine. And we would always sit together with some other people from our Spanish class before it would begin. And he was talking all about this thing called the kettlebell and this badass.
Yeah, what the hell's the kettlebell?
I wish I had one with me. Kettlebell is like a big...
Oh, the kettlebell. I thought you said the kettlebell. I'm like, what the fuck's a kettlebell?
Yeah, no. This is... Yeah. Well, it's funny that you should say that because back then, that was basically everybody's response. Like what's a kettlebell? Like, it was just... Yeah. And then you would see it was basically this big iron ball with this sort of like tea kettle looking handle, hence the name. And you'd be like, well, what do you even do with it? It was like... As far as anybody else was concerned, it was this totally new... radical random thing, wasn't going to stick around. Turns out it's a very, very old form of strength training. And the kettlebell even predates the plate loaded barbell, meaning the barbells that we know in gyms where you can put the plates on and adjust those were invented, I think, at about the 1850s. Whereas the kettlebell
would this more or less be like Asian strong style?
There was a lot. So this is what's very interesting about the kettlebell is that the first time it appears in a Russian dictionary, because it's primarily known for its origins in Russia. First time it appears in a Russian dictionary is 1704. So it's quite old, but it predates even that. And originally what they were used is there were just these big weights with a handle on them that farmers would use to weigh off grain and other agricultural products in the marketplace. And legend has it that, on the down times when they would get bored, they would swing them around, they would lift them. And then it became like this form of training that became sort of ubiquitous to Russia and started to spread throughout other parts of Europe. And there's evidence too of, for instance, I don't remember, I think it was Ottoman Sultan named Murad IV, who was renowned for carrying his roughly 200-pound kettlebell with him when he would go on war campaigns so that he could train while he was out, conquering more land and roughing people up and stuff like that. So it has a really long history, but it sort of got forgotten in the early, I would say maybe like the mid 1900s, and just kind of faded into the background. And then the fitness focus, at least within the United States, and I would say to a great degree in Europe too, seemed like it was primarily, it started to kind of move toward like what we know now. So it's like, machines and health clubs and, and stuff like that. And so a lot of the hardcore stuff sort of faded into the background, and the kettlebell was
savage.
Yeah, I got a question here. Like with all your experience with MMA, it's an intensive background of what you have here and what you're explaining here on the show. Have you ever thought about, possibly getting in the octagon or anything in that nature?
When I was younger, I did consider it because when I want to say this was probably at sometime around 2007-ish. I had done Muay Thai long enough in the regular classes that Nick Doyle, the two-time world champion, invited me to the Muay Thai team training that took place on separate days from when the regular classes were taking place. And, he saw me in the gym, he saw me working out, he saw that I was very dedicated. And so I was like, okay, well, I gotta show up.
Right.
And I have to say I had a good time, but a couple of early injuries, pretty minor things, but still some injuries kind of convinced me, I'm not so sure that I want to put my health on the line for the sake of, for the sake of trying to get good at this specific thing. So for me, it kind of,
you just don't feel like, I mean, that's just not your intention then, the squaring up in the octagon. You'd rather do it as, I guess, a passion or an interest then, of what I'm hearing, right? Absolutely.
And this is a good time to mention too that I think there are a lot of people who kind of overlook the fact that you can have a passion for something or a hobby for something and be fully aware that you're never going to be the best in the world at it, but still enjoy it simply because it's something that you look forward to, that you think is a lot of fun. And I've noticed that a lot of Americans in particular have a tendency to kind of see hobbies, meaning like physical hobbies, as something that is maybe more of a burden. And I don't think it should be like that. I mean, it used to be, like, for instance, my dad, when he was younger, he started working on his car because he had kind of a crappy car and he didn't have a ton of money to take it to the mechanic. So he started working on it, found that he liked working on cars, turned it into a business. Now,
I mean, I hate to chime in, but I mean, I commend you a little bit for not wanting to pursue it as a career, right? With, maybe UFC or maybe little indie leagues here and there. Mm-hmm. Most people that want to pursue this, they create a career for it. They want to make money off of it. So you really don't want to make money. You just want to you want to learn the craft and you want to master it. It seems, right?
Yeah, I think more than anything, what I do like making a living off of is strength and how to obtain it. Because not only is it something that I think that I understand better, but it's also something that is a lot more relevant to more people and it's more helpful to more people. I think, and similarly with mobility. And
I noticed that on your website, you get a lot of reviews, a lot of positive reviews, what
Certainly.
People are saying about your 9-minute challenge. And I want to get into that here in a bit. Because it's very fascinating. I find it very fascinating, for one, because of your practices and your principles that you're bringing to the craft of MMA. Now, most MMA type of people, they do a lot of conditioning training.
Savage.
Do you find yourself
Spotify?
Well, conditioning is certainly important, but you also have to define what it is that we mean by conditioning, because for most people,
most people look at it a lot differently. You're absolutely right.
Well, because here's the thing. So again, my profession, I would say, if I had to sum it into one word, is strength training, and it's primarily oriented toward people who strength training with kettlebells, calisthenics, and natural human movement, and it's primarily oriented toward people who are, busy professionals, but they're ambitious, meaning they don't want to leave their ambition for physical greatness off to the side simply because they have a day job that has them seated most of the time and things like that. And moreover, many of them have very physical hobbies that they like to engage in. MMA or martial arts in general is certainly one of them. I've worked with a lot of people who do that similarly as a hobby. Never really anybody who does it professionally, because I think they need somebody very...
Yeah, how do you find, to break away from the people with the stressful schedules in life? How do you break away from that, or help people break away from that? Because it is a commitment. We have to be committed to, whether you're doing MMA training or you're going to the gym, or walking down the street for a daily jog. You have to be committed to doing that. So how do you find people to stay committed with that type?
Well, the first thing that people need to realize is that a lot of the stuff that they think are ironclad laws of strength and health and fitness are really more contextual rules, and they're not always going to be applicable. So the first one is give it 110%. Now, not only is this, it's not really possible. You can't give it 110%. But think about... Put it this way, think about going 100% even with all sorts of other stuff that you do. Imagine every time you pulled out your credit card, you're like, I'm going to spend 100% of the money in my bank account. Okay. Or you get in your car. I'm going to go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
You
see,
know,
people won't do that. You know, they will make an excuse, or at least people, you know, in today's society, you know, they have that excuse. Well, you know, maybe I'll do it tomorrow, or maybe I'll do it next week. You know, like you can't have that next week or tomorrow scenario.
they don't even exist. Yesterday doesn't exist anymore. It's
right.
gone.
It's done. It's over with. Focus on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So how do you get people to get to stay in that level? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, the first thing is that they have to kind of get these ideas out of their head. Not that these things don't work, not that they don't have any value whatsoever, but the most important things are, number one, focusing on being consistent. You can do even a kind of a crappy program or lackluster routine, but if you do it every single day, or you do it whatever the routine tells you to do and you don't miss a day, you will see results versus a perfectly crafted, personalized routine built just for you, and you do it for a week, and then the next, 7 weeks after that, you do nothing. Well, who's going to get the better results? It's the one who keeps showing up, keeps doing the work. So yes, I do think that having like a good personalized, well-crafted routine, depending on the individual, is certainly very valuable. But the number one thing is you have to keep showing up, and you have to get the idea out of your head about going 100% all the time. You can do it occasionally, but more often than not, it should be between 50 and 80% of your effort level. You need to show up, you need to put in some work, punch the clock, and then leave. That doesn't mean you do half-hearted workouts, but what it does mean is you don't always push it to the limit, because when you seek your limits, you will find them. And as you get older, it's a lot harder to recover from really difficult workouts. But it's not harder.
I find that all the time, especially, I'm getting up in age. I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm not an old man yet, but it's a pain in the ass. Hold that thought, Aleks. I do have to get a break in. Guys, you're listening to and viewing, depending on the platform you're on, Aleks Salkin, a master in the MMA world, and he has a 9-minute challenge, what he's somewhat getting into now. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but guys, I do want to get some breaks in here and basically applaud some people that make this show continue to its respectable reaches. I want to say thank you to Liquid IV. That's right, guys. With Liquid IV, hydration for any occasion is now possible. Guys, I want you to do yourself a favor. Throw all those high sugary drinks out the window. Your Powerade, your Gatorade, hell, even your fountain sodas. Throw them out the window. Grab Liquid IV, backed by many people in the sporting world, right? Whether it's MMA or, professional wrestling or boxing, or even athletes you see on TV with football, right? And baseball and all the other leagues. It's backed by them. And it should be backed by you guys. Scan this QR code, and you're going to find why these people love it. Has more than 3 times the electrolytes than most leading sport drinks. And they can back that up, guys. Love Liquid IV. Thank you guys very much. Keep it going. Also want to say thank you to Blackout Coffee. That's right, guys. At Blackout Coffee, they are literally the driving force behind America's Warriors. That's right. It is coffee for America's Warriors. Use this promo code, guys, SAVAGED, for 15% off your order. And tell them you heard it on Savage Unfiltered. They're really going to be impressed. And I'm impressed by some of their fresh coffee. It's not your oily, rundown shit you get at the grocery store like Folgers and Maxwell House. This coffee really stands by its quality and its excellence behind it. Available in Keurig cups as well as grinds. Blackout Coffee Company. Check them out today. With your 9-minute challenge. I do want to talk about that, a little bit before we dip out. You basically got into the whole commitment, why it's important to stay committed to doing whatever you do today in life, whether it's fitness training or exercise. Let's get a little bit about why you feel because I want to use that word commitment on purpose, because you do need commitment in everything you do today. So how does it apply to some of your 9-minute challenge?
Well, the first thing is that, again, commitment, consistency, and focus are very important for your strength and your health and your fitness. And what a lot of people don't realize is that although an hour in the gym or, in your own home's training center would certainly help you to get a lot stronger, it can be really difficult to put that together in terms of just people's schedules. What a lot of people really need is they need to focus on learning how to move the way the body was made to move and getting the entire body moving as a singular unit, as opposed to a collection of kind of Frankenstein-like parts that are just cobbled together. So the 9-minute challenge is designed to get people moving the way they were made to move, particularly through movements that are centered around what's called your gait pattern or your walking pattern. So it includes stuff like crawling, yes, crawling on the ground, loaded carries, which just involve like grabbing onto kettlebells and walking around with them in various different ways. Because what this does is it gets all the muscles in your body working the way that they were made to move, in unison, together, and as a solid unit. And what a lot of people find is that it works very well as either a kind of an extended warm-up before their regular training, or as a finisher after their regular training, in addition to something they can do on their days where they don't have a workout scheduled, but they want to kind of get in a quick workout. And the reason I wanted to put it together was because I had realized, from having worked with a wide variety of people over the years looking to get fitter and stronger, and let's just say more resilient and more youthful feeling in general, these were the kind of movements that really delivered a lot of bang for the buck without draining people of all of their energy and without a long turnover time in terms of recovery. So I put it together into the 9-minute challenge so that people could experience it themselves and have a good old time in the process.
Yeah, I mean, 9-minute challenge. It kind of reminds me of that old comedy thing from, what the hell was that from?
Yeah, I'm a salesman. I'm going to start my own company. Really? You want in?
Nah, I'm not, I don't really have any, money or...
You heard of this thing, the 8-minute abs?
Yeah, sure, 8-minute abs. Yeah, the exercise video.
Yeah, well, this is going to blow that right out of the water. Listen to this. 7-minute abs.
Right, yes. Okay, all right. I see where you're going.
Think about it. You walk into a video store, you see 8-minute abs sitting there. There's 7-minute abs right beside it. Which one are you going to pick, man?
I would go for the 7. Yeah, I'd go for
Bingo, man, bingo. 7-minute abs. And we guarantee just as good a workout as the 8-minute, folk.
You guarantee it? How do you do that?
If you're not happy with the first 7 minutes, we're going to send you the extra minute free. See, that's it. That's our motto. That's where we're coming from. That's from A to B.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Unless, of course, somebody comes up with 6-minute abs, then you're in trouble, huh?
No, not 6. I said 7. Nobody's coming up with 6. Who works out in 6 minutes? You won't even get your heart going, not even a mouse on a wheel.
Good point.
7's the key number here. Think about it.
Right.
7 11s?
Yeah.
7 dwarfs? 7, man, that's the number. 7 chipmunks twirling on a branch, eating lots of sunflowers on my uncle's ranch. You know that old children's tale from the sea? It's like you're dreaming about gorgonzola cheese when it's clearly brie time, baby. Step into my office.
Why?
Because you're fucking fired.
There's something about Mary.
Yeah, 9-minute abs.
Yeah.
So how does 9-minute abs different from your 9-minute challenge? I'm sorry I had to throw that in, but it just kind of came to me because it was kind of goofy, but yours isn't goofy. Yours is actually very informative.
I think it's 8-minute abs. And then
is it 8-minute abs?
The question was, what if someone comes out with 7-minute abs? Truth is, if somebody came out with an 8-minute challenge, I probably would, I would have to be like, all right, I got to find a way to cram this 9 minutes into like 7 minutes and 59 seconds to beat this other guy. Yeah.
Do you find a lot of people try to cram that 9-minute challenge of yours in, or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's interesting is I hear from people all the time who are like, somebody told me, he's like, my back doesn't hurt anymore. My knees feel better. And one of the things, this one gentleman, speaking of martial arts, is a martial artist, not a professional one. He's a hobbyist, kind of like I am.
Okay.
In Canada, named Jason. He said, your 9-minute challenge has led to me kicking more ass in martial arts. And specifically because this is what I think is that it's because his whole body is working together as one solid unit. And, if you're like me and you're not super huge guy, you really need to be able to get your entire body to move all at once. If, a punch or a kick.
Yeah. You have that, what I call, as I'm viewing on camera here, I mean, you have that, that skinny man muscle frame to you. You got like a I guess like an oval face like mine a little bit, but you're a muscle dude. I mean, you go on your website and you're right there, right on the left hand side, and you got a nice physique, man. But like, do people bash you for that, like skinny man, muscle man? Type of scenario, or
they wouldn't say it to my face, so who cares what they say?
You gotta put them in a fucking arm
they can
bar.
say whatever they want online,
Yeah.
Let them hide behind their fake screen names. That's fine.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your fights. Any big time fights in your way?
Again, everything was always in the gym.
I know you're more of a passion guy, but
martial arts. Like you got started in childhood, but it wasn't MMA from the outset. It was a more traditional martial arts background. Is that correct?
Kind of correct. I wouldn't even say childhood. It was like teenage years. So I started out what's considered pretty late. Started training pretty late. Started MMA pretty late. Started competing pretty late. But we got somewhere. And
And your initial foray into martial arts was with Kung Fu, correct?
Yeah, I did like a mix of Kung Fu and karate. Started when I was 15. I've done a little bit of different stuff before that, but I never sticked around for too long.
Savaged.
throw that in.
Well, okay. You know what? When I was at high school, like I've never done any amateur or professional fights because I realized early on I was like, you know what? I really like this strength training stuff. I really like this kettlebell and bodyweight stuff, and I'm still a little uncoordinated with the fighting, and I it's something that I enjoy, but I know I just don't have a career in it. And the people who do try to do it for a career often find that there's also not a ton of money on it. Actually, Sean Strickland, who is the once and future champion of the middleweight division of UFC, he said the same thing. He said, like he's a different story because for him,
he said this to you.
Not to me. He's mentioned this in interviews. He said that somebody had asked him, he's like, my kid wants to get into MMA. It was like a 17-year-old. And he said, okay, do you want a piece of advice? Is don't do it because there's not a lot of money in it. It's really, really hard work. And the likelihood that you'll get to UFC, particularly at this point, where it's a really big and beloved sport is a lot lower. Maybe 30 years ago when it was in its infancy, it's like it
was probably easier to get into, with the company or any Bellator. I mean, all those. I mean, it was probably a lot easier. But I mean, you look now. I mean, people are just they're just trying to get that one hit wonder. Yeah, like especially in my field, like I see a lot of people, like a lot of podcasters come and go. The commitment they don't want to be committed to it after. I'll do it for like 3 days or 4 days, and then after 4 days, the 4 days goes into a week goes into a month, and they lose fucking interest, man.
Absolutely. And I think it's very much the same, honestly, with a lot of different careers. Even, for me, like, strength training, we'll say just personal training in general, let's say. Unless you have a really good plan and a really good focus and a group of people who are very specific people that you want to help, the turnover for personal training is about 18 to 24 months. So if you find somebody who's been doing it longer than that, you're finding someone who's like a real veteran. And it's the same with sports. It's the same with podcasting, as you mentioned. It's the same with any sort of unconventional career path. And knowing to pick and choose, like I said, like I did, I realized I was good. I liked, fighting as a hobby, but getting beaten up for money or trying to beat up other people for money seemed like...
not your cup of tea, huh?
Didn't seem like it was going to work out. But personal training I've really enjoyed, and I've been able to actually make an impact on people's lives. And something that I wake up enjoying and looking forward to every day.
Well, as we kind of close up here with you, Alex, I appreciate you coming on. And, good buddy of mine up in New Jersey, Walt Blau, hat tip to B-Raw Podcast out there, kind of mentioned you and referred you over here. What's next for Aleks Salkin? Any maybe books in your way or?
Yeah, I've got another book on the way out. I've got a couple of books that I've written. I've got the No BS Kettlebell and Bodyweight Kickstart program for anybody who is interested in kicking off kettlebell and bodyweight type programming in their regular day-to-day life or as part of their fitness regimen. And for people who have already been doing kettlebells for a while, I've got Tamers of the Lost Ark.
That will make a Jones thing going on there.
Yeah. Well, the Ark describes the path that ballistic kettlebell exercises, or that the kettlebell goes through in ballistic lifts like swings, cleans, snatches. And so learning how to tame that Ark is difficult for a lot of people. And so I put together a how-to guide in doing that. And of course, I like plays on words, and I'm a bit of a nerd myself. So I grew up loving it.
Looks like you lived through like the 80s genre there of graphics, but I love it.
Of course. I made it look more like a comic book as opposed to some boring fitness book because I think it's a lot more interesting to read like that.
Well, I mean, that's awesome, man. Like, not only are you're doing this as a passion, but you're also educating people into learning and mastering the craft of MMA. I wish we could see more of that today, but obviously, you kind of touched briefly, most people don't want to teach. They just want to get in the ring and get their ass beat for, sometimes millions of dollars. And I mean, I applaud them for doing that. I had a couple of guys that on the show related to you that got in the ring and they're still in the ring. They go in the ring and they stay in the ring for money. They want to make money. They want to get their ass whooped sometimes, and they want to get bumps and bruises. But hey, I applaud them for doing it because, I guess that's where God led them in that direction. So
my hat's off to them. I got a lot of respect for it, but I'm also realistic enough to know that, I just wouldn't stand a chance of doing that kind of thing. So
never say never, man. You never know.
Well, at this age, I'm like 37, and I don't feel old, but in terms of the sport,
you look young. Yeah.
Yeah. But 37 in MMA is like you're on your way out the door, for the most part by that point. Believe it or not.
When you get to my age, when you're approaching your mid 40s, and you get what I call the ancient line, it goes from your nose down to your chin. That's when you're aging. Exactly.
That's when you got to retire from MMA, like officially.
Oh man, I know a buddy of mine. He's a buddy of mine now. He's been on the show like twice here. His name is Phil Dunlap. I don't know if that name rings a bell, but he's one of the oldest MMA fighters
really?
Still active for his age. I mean, the guy's pushing like his 60s, and he's still getting in the octagon. He just had a fight up in, I think it was like Atlantic City, New Jersey, or was it Atlantic City? Yeah, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Yeah, Shaky telling me. Atlantic City, New Jersey, and he goes in this ring, and they're bashing him because of his age. Obviously, that's natural.
Sure.
And then they're saying, like they're bringing the whole old man complex in. Similar to like what you're seeing with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Sure.
Calling Tyson old. And I mean, hey, it's natural. People are gonna bash, but for a guy that's pushing his 60s, guy has a fucking crazy physique.
Yeah.
And he can still do it. So,
there's a saying,
never say never. That's why I tell people.
True. But there's a saying, beware an old man in a profession where there are mostly young men, because if you've gotten that far at that age, it's like you probably know a thing or two.
Sure.
You don't want to underestimate a dude like that.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Appreciate you informing my listening base here on Savage Unfiltered about your passions, your interests, your 9-minute challenge, which I think is very unique. Everyone has their own niche quiche of things, right? And I appreciate you for doing that. And I appreciate more people going your way. Alex, if you want to plug in anything, man, I'm going to give you some floor time here, a couple minutes if you want to. You mentioned your books, you mentioned your training. Anything else you want to present here to the podcasting world here? Or
I would say, well, first of all, the books you can find on Amazon. So if you're interested in any of them, piqued your interest, you're more than welcome to check it out on Amazon or check them out on Amazon. But otherwise, I would say if you want to re-imbue your own training and your physique and your life in general with a type of strength and movement training that helps you to feel more revitalized, more energetic, more resilient, as opposed to run down, exhausted, and weak, then I really would recommend the 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge. I mean, it's free, so there's really no, you don't have to worry about committing a ton of money to it right off the bat. You get a chance to kind of get insight into my philosophies and my approach to strength and movement training. And if you find that it's just not your thing, no hard feelings. But if you go to 9minutechallenge.com, you can get your own free digital copy. Just give me your name and your best email address, and I will send it right to you. And similarly, you're always welcome to reach out, ask me questions, and to the best of my ability, I'll be more than happy to help. And if I can't help, I'll point you in the right direction. So that's what I would say is number one thing, go get the 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge if that sounds like something that's really piqued your interest. And give it a shot, give it at least a week or two's worth of training and see what it does for you. And if it's a sort of a thing that's putting you in the right direction and you're excited to keep going, I've got plenty more stuff coming down the line after that. But start with the 9-minute challenge.
I appreciate it. And also, too, guys, if you missed that, for all my audio listeners out there on Spotify or iHeart or wherever you're listening to us on, that will be put in the show notes. So don't worry. Websites will be presented with links. And also, too, guys, check out alexsalkin.com. That's another website you didn't mention, but I do want to direct some of my listeners to that because there is a get your free guide here. You can put your first name or initial, whatever, your email, and you're going to send them out basically like, what is it, like a newsletter type of thing? Or
well, that's actually, so 9-minute challenge. I used that 9minutechallenge.com to redirect to alexsalkin.com because nobody knows how to spell my name. And
is that the same website?
It's the same website. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because when I put Aleks Salkin in, it just pops right up. It doesn't do the 9-minute challenge.
Exactly. Okay. So 9-minute challenge just redirects to alexsalkin.com because
I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah, because people are going to get confused.
I get people. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, look. Yeah. I get people, even friends of mine, I'll get like a message from them like, hey, Alex, but they misspell my first name. So it's like, I know the people who don't know me are going to easily misspell the first name when they put it into the website. So I'll send them to 9minutechallenge.com. So it's identical. Okay. It's, exact same thing. One day I'll have an extra website maybe for all my other interests. But for now,
I thought it was two different websites because I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? 9-minute challenge. There's no 9-minute challenge. It goes to alexsalkin.com.
Yeah. That's people find 9-minute challenge a lot easier to spell than my name. It's for those who have not yet looked at it, it's ALEKS rather than ALEX, and it throws people off like you wouldn't believe. So I had to work around that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, and like I say to every episode, guys, at the end, be savage, not average. Until next time, take it easy, guys.